I'm so sick of talking about social media and social selling on this show. It's talk, 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 and no action. Well, we're all about the action today on This Week in Sales. Hello and welcome to This Week in Sales. I'm Kevin Gaither, the Director of Inside Sales at BetterWorks here in Santa Monica. You may recall the goal of the show is to help sales professionals with tips and tactics and techniques to help them improve their performance right now. Today's guest is Matt Heinz, President of Heinz Marketing, which is a B2B sales acceleration consulting firm. Matt, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Matt, what's your nightmare sales job?
My nightmare sales job is actually having to sell what I do, without being able to provide some value. It's funny, like I'm a sales and marketing consultant now. It's what our company does. But I really don't like cold selling. I'd rather, instead of going and telling someone what we do, I'd much rather be able to show them what we do. And I think, the value, the way that selling has changed with the way that the buying behavior has changed allows us to do this far more often, right? We can get in front of someone and build trust and value and credibility well before someone's ready to buy. And when they are ready to buy, we're focused far more on their problems, their needs, and their outcomes, and figuring out if we have an ability to solve that for them. So we're not selling them a solution. We're allowing them to achieve an outcome that they want, and that's an ideal selling scenario. And I guess the nightmare would be for me to have to go back to the sales strategies that people used 20 years ago that really just don't work today.
Right, old school. Well, good. Well, Matt, before I introduce you properly, let's have a word from our sponsor.
How many times have you heard that the contract is signed on my desk and I just need to scan or fax it over? Asking your buyers to print, sign, scan, or fax back a contract creates the hassle of extra steps. EchoSign simplifies the problem by making contracts digital. EchoSign is extremely easy to use for senders and signers, owned by Adobe, so it's a trusted source, and integrates with all major CRMs, Salesforce, NetSuite, and Sugar. Call 877-324-6744 and use the promo code ThisWeekInSales to take advantage of a special discount they have offered for our...
So my guest today is Matt Heinz. Matt brings more than 12 years of marketing, business development, and sales experience from a variety of organizations, vertical industries, and company sizes. His career is focused on delivering measurable results for his employers and clients in the way of greater sales, revenue growth, product success, and customer loyalty. Matt has held various positions at companies such as Microsoft, Weber Shandwick, Boeing, the Seattle Mariners, Market Leader, and Verdium. In 2007, Matt began Heinz Marketing to help clients focus their business on market and customer opportunities, then execute a plan to scale revenue and customer growth. He launched Heinz Marketing formally in late 2008. Visit Matt and Heinz Marketing at heinzmarketing.com. So Matt, what's hot on your mind right now?
A lot of our customers, it's funny, in the open, you talked about social selling. We hear it all the time. And I think to your point earlier, we hear a lot of people talking about it, not a lot of people doing it. But what's interesting to me is I think, I look at the social media world and Twitter this and Facebook that, and it's all fine and good. What I see as a sales guy is one of the greatest selling opportunities I've ever seen. And what's interesting is it's not the selling opportunity that we had 20 years ago. We have an opportunity to go upstream and to understand more about the context and the needs and the environment that our buyers are in than ever before, because that information is exposed to us online. And if we're smart as sellers in the way that we use that, we can approach prospects differently, we can engage them differently, we can have a consultative conversation in a very different way, and really differentiate ourselves from the competition at the same time that we increase our conversion rates and our sales.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you struck a chord. We're talking about social media here, but I'm like I said, I'm sick of talking about it. So what I was hoping to do with you today, Matt, is where you can show our audience a little bit about what you're talking about with respect to social selling and what we all should be doing as individual contributors.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go ahead and assuming this still works, I'm going to show my screen. So, Kevin, let me know if all of a sudden this doesn't show up. But hopefully, you're now looking at my Hootsuite. And I think the opportunity with social media, I mean, as a seller, is there's all kinds of stuff out there, and I'm already getting sick of hearing about Pinterest and all these new channels that come up every week. But depending on where you're selling and who your customer is, you find the social channels that make sense for you. Might be Facebook, might be Twitter, might be LinkedIn, might be something vertical, fine. But I want to give a couple examples specifically using Twitter as an example, because I'm using this for myself. I mean, you're basically looking at my Hootsuite, so hopefully nothing scarier hopefully we don't have any personally identifiable or financial information showing up here, but I want to give some examples. So you see I've got all these different columns. Those of you that are using Hootsuite may recognize this. The one I wanted to point to is sort of this column right here in the middle. What this sort of is shortened here, it says Heinz Marketing Clients and Prospects. This is a column of of the 6,000 plus people I'm following. In this column are current clients, prospects, people that are in my sales pipeline, or people that I want to be working with, so that I can specifically focus on them. Now, if one of them knows me and I've got some relationship, but they say something and I reply back, it's a touch point in the relationship, right? If I don't know them yet, if they don't know me, but they see me retweeting their content, all of a sudden there's an impression and they have some sense of who I am. It makes a cold call a warm call. It makes an existing relationship that may not be ready to move forward yet a little bit closer. You're that much more likely to get the deal. I mean, there's millions and millions of dollars being spent on drip marketing today with the Marketos and the Eloquas of the world, which is great. This is an opportunity for salespeople to do something very much like the same thing. You'll see here as well, and next to that, I've got this hashtag B2B hashtag sales. This, for me, is a way for me to figure out and to find content from people that I may not be following directly that are writing about B2B sales and marketing. But think about the keywords in your category that make sense. We have a client that's doing knowledge management software. So, they're looking for people that are mentioning knowledge management on Twitter, that are mentioning their competitors on Twitter, that are mentioning SharePoint on Twitter. And by the way, their software, can help make SharePoint more usable in your organization. So people that are mentioning those topics either have an immediate need for something, or at least is something they care about, or it's a category that they or someone in their organization is interested in.
Okay, time out for a second, Matt, here.
Yeah.
So let me back up here on some of the basics here. The tool that you're suggesting that you are using right there is Hootsuite, HOOTSUITE.com, correct?
That's right.
And how much does that cost you to use? It looks complex.
It looks complex. I've got it set up so I'm looking at something really big. You can always do something like this and say you can make it look a lot easier. This cost me basically nothing.
It costs you nothing. Okay.
It costs me nothing. There's a pro version that has some interesting tools that mostly are valuable, I think, for people that are working in teams. But as an individual sales rep, I've got teams where every sales rep has their own version of this. They've got it set up and they're paying nothing for it. It's pretty. God bless the World Wide Web.
Okay, so let's say I was a salesperson selling CRM software or something like that, and you're recommending that I create a column within my Hootsuite that pays attention to all the tweets out there that are where when somebody searches for customer relationship management or managing customers or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. I mean, you can do that on here. You can set it up so that you're looking for specific people that you think are your prospects. We've got some enterprise salespeople we're working with where, they've got a finite number of prospects they're working with. They'll have a column for the different geographic areas they're working, a column for different vertical areas. And within those columns, they'll watch specifically the decision makers and the buyers that they want to get to know better. Okay. Or you can do it the opposite way, which is you're looking for keywords. And when I say keywords, what I mean are buying signals. In the social media world, in the world we live in today, buying signal is no longer, how much does it cost or what's the contract and the terms look like. A buying signal is someone exhibiting and sharing some symptom of a problem they're trying to solve. Think about this not in terms of your interest in selling. Think about this in terms of the timeline that the buyer goes through. Your buyer starts with a pain or a need or a symptom. They start thinking about and visualizing an outcome or objective they are looking for. You may be the solution, but they may not value that solution. They may not know about the solution. They may not have done the translation of what that solution can do for them to achieve a certain outcome. And if they haven't done that, then it's going to be very, very difficult very, very difficult for them to be able to understand what you're talking about until you do that connection together.
Okay. So how do I go about setting up one of those columns? Like, show me. Let's not talk about it. Let's show me, how would I go about doing that? Hootsuite is basically free, so I can sign up for this today, and I want to start tracking people in my territory, which represents Northern California, for example. How would I go about doing that?
Well, I mean, if you find someone if you find like a topic you want to track, you can click this Add Stream button right here, and this opens up, and hopefully you guys can still see this. So I can say, okay, like I've set up a profile. So in my let's see here, in my Twitter account, I've got certain lists that I have set up, right? So you can see here the list that I've set up. I've got a Seattle list, sales and marketing expert, clients and prospects, clean tech, and by the way, in Twitter, you can designate a list to be private. So right here, this says private. What that means is that other people can't see who I have on my client prospect list. I don't want my competitor to see who my clients are, or who the people are I'm trying to sell to. So that can be a list that only is available to you. And what you can do is I can say, all right, give me a stream that shows me anytime someone in one of those lists shows up. But then let's go back to the search field, right? Let's say I want to know let's say I'm Salesforce, and I want to know anytime someone mentions Sugar CRM, right? So I can type in Sugar CRM, do the little Boolean search, which puts the parentheses on the side, click Create Stream. This is going to create a stream that shows me every time someone actually mentions Sugar CRM. Now, in some cases, you're going to see some really weird stuff here, right? And this is unfiltered stuff. But Sugar CRM's hiring a programmer. Here's someone with a link to customization. We have some sales teams and some sales reps that are using tools like this, and again, it's prospecting, so you're going to see some crap in here as well. You will find people complaining about Sugar CRM. You will find people who are asking if they should consider Sugar CRM. And if you're a competitor to that person, wouldn't you like to be able to engage in that conversation when they're still doing their research and doing it so publicly?
Absolutely. So, what do you do? Directly tweet to them saying buy Salesforce now? I mean, obviously I'm being facetious here, but you're the expert. How do you go about engaging with those potential prospects when you've created your stream for the keywords or the geography or the group that you're looking to follow? What then?
So one of the biggest challenges for salespeople, especially those that have been doing selling for a while, is to not immediately engage someone who's further upstream, who's further back in the buying process, not engage them with a direct product pitch. Because we're trained as salespeople to try to sell. We've got a quota, we're trying to hit a number, we want to get people engaged. If someone is at a point where they're still researching options, you need to make sure you've got something that helps with that process. You need to make sure you've got something that, for example, can tell people, hey, you know what? Here's a great tool that actually helps compare different CRM systems to each other. Maybe you, as a competitor, have published something like that, and you can share that with them. Maybe a reviewer on a trade publication has done that in a way that's favorable to you, and you can point them there. Sometimes people aren't even looking for solutions yet, right? Like I've seen in some cases, like email service providers. Let's say you're an email service provider and you're looking for prospects. You may find that someone mentioned a competitor of yours and mentioned how hard it is to build lists or how difficult it is to segment. Like you could come back and say, well, it's easier with us, or you could say, hey, here's an article over here that I thought made it, would really cut the amount of time it takes to segment lists, or like, hey, here's a best practice guide for how to think about list segmentation in marketing. It may not be related to the email campaign. It's definitely not related to buying your service, but all of a sudden they're like, wow, who's that guy, and why did he give me that great information? That's really helpful. Thank you very much. Who are you and what do you do? You'll get 1% of those people that come back and thank you and want to know more about you, or that give you an opportunity to ask a follow-up question or to engage either on Twitter or an email or in the phone and get them into your sales process. And at the end of the day, Kevin, I think what's important to think about this is there's a lot of tactics that go into this, but we've seen time and time again this type of prospecting, when you're not just looking for a name and a company, but when you're looking for context, when you're understanding the need and the stage at the buying cycle that prospect may be in, we've seen again and again statistically this is far more valuable and far more fruitful than cold calling. So we've got sales teams that still spend some of their time cold calling, but have dedicated 50% of their time or more for their inside sales teams to do this kind of prospecting to build their pipeline.
Okay. So let me make sure we're clear on the tactic here again, Matt. So if I saw somebody in my stream, I can just reply right there within that tweet to give them, what is it, 120 characters or something like that, or 140 characters?
Yep, you got 140 characters, and you can always, you can always shorten that. There's a number of services like bit.ly, bit.ly, a number of services like that that can make it really, really easy for you to, to share links in a shorter volume. You can also say, hey, I've got something, but it's a PDF. Shoot me your email address, and I can send it to you. It's like a lot of things in sales and marketing. A percent of people aren't going to respond to that, but some people will, and so you're kind of playing the numbers game to build the top of your pipe.
Got it. About how many I guess responses do you typically facilitate or send out every single day, Matt?
I don't send that many out. Like when I'm on Twitter, most of what I'm doing is providing a value. And I think one of the biggest opportunities for salespeople on social media is to not just be a salesperson, but to be a thought leader. I mean, if you go to my Twitter account, you go to Heinz Marketing, just at Heinz Marketing, you're going to see mostly stuff that I found across the web that's related to sales, marketing, and productivity. You're going to see me respond to other people that have questions that have tweeted some of our content. You're going to see me doing a combination of providing hopefully good value to people that think the way I think, or think about sales and marketing. And you're also going to see me engaging with people in my network, a combination of partners, clients, prospects, and what have you. And I think it's a combination of providing value and being an active part of the community that really makes this work.
All right, perfect. You mind stopping the screen share for just a second here?
Sure. Let's see if I can do that. There we go.
So beyond Hootsuite, what are some of the other tools out there that you would suggest that salespeople should be using for social selling?
Well, I think Hootsuite's the core, because I think you could do so many things there. And if you notice when we were over there earlier, there were tabs up at the top for Facebook and LinkedIn. So you can do the same thing we just talked about with Twitter. You can use Hootsuite to watch categories and topics and people you follow on Facebook and LinkedIn. What you also probably noticed is when we did that search for Sugar CRM, it gave you a lot of crap, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that really wasn't that valuable. There's two ways you can actually get around that. One is a service called TwitHawk, TWIT, and then hawk like the bird. It basically is an alert service. Think of it like Google Alerts for Twitter. So you can go in and you can set up a phrase, you can set up a keyword, and you can say, show me anytime someone does this, or show me anytime someone types this within 20 miles of Seattle or within 40 miles of Chicago. And it will give you search results for those individual responses. Now, better yet, it's not only going to give you search results. You can go in and you can say, anytime someone asks for this particular topic, or tweets about knowledge management, or mentions, in my case, we've got some set that say, need sales leads is a good one for us.
Right.
Anytime someone says that, we've got a set of 4 responses that are teed up that can go back out to that prospect. And TwitHawk makes it so that you can throttle how often they go out. So I can say, I found 5 today, only send 1 of 4 responses every 4 hours, or every 6 hours, or every 12 hours. So you can literally go in once a day, spend a couple minutes sorting through for the good ones, set it and forget it, and throughout the day or throughout the next couple days, responses are going to prospects on your behalf. And you literally, what's fascinating is you sit there and you totally forget about it, and then all of a sudden you see a reply in your Twitter feed that says, "Hey, thanks very much for this. Would love to learn more." And you're like, "Where the hell did that come from?" Well, you'd already set it up.
You've done marketing automation.
Done it kind of for yourself. Now, what I didn't mention in that, so TwitHawk is great, but it still doesn't give you a filter. So someone still within 20 miles of Seattle can be sending crap into that feed. So let me give you one more service that makes it even better. New service in private beta right now called NearStream, N-E-A-R Stream. This takes the idea of searching for keywords or searching for phrases and searching for it within certain guidelines and adds the filtering. So they're using some proprietary technology that basically takes the crap out of your feed. It scores the feeds coming in for relevance and quality, and it can make it so you're only looking at it, only responding to those that have a certain quality score. They've got the flight set up, they've got the responses all set up as well. But think of it like, social media is kind of like search was 15 years ago. It's the greatest library in the world, and all the books are on the ground. Well, service like NearStream picks the books up and tells you the ones you should read.
Very cool. Very cool. And what does TwitHawk and NearStream cost?
TwitHawk is free to use as a search tool. If you want to send responses out, you pay for that. I think you pay all about 5 cents per response. So pretty pricey stuff. Only for enterprise companies. I kid.
Yeah, right.
NearStream is in private beta, and I know that they've got some beta customers today. I know they're going to start charging for this, but the price points they've talked to us about for what they're charging is pennies on the dollar compared to what companies are spending on lead generation today. And think about this from a lead generation standpoint. Like if you're a company and you're doing lead gen, what are you doing today? You're doing direct mail, you're buying email lists, you're renting space on a trade publication somewhere. You're probably spending a fair amount of money to generate those leads to just get access to people that have a name and a title. Social media gives you access to people with a name, a title, a context, and a specific need. Now, how much do you pay to have access to that list? Nothing, right? I mean, I just showed you, I don't pay anything for Hootsuite. I don't pay anything for TwitHawk. And all of this content, especially on Twitter and on LinkedIn as well, if you're doing B2B on LinkedIn, that content is just out there. So the challenge is A, to mine for the stuff that's most valuable to you, B, have a mechanism and or a process to follow up, and C, to your point earlier, Kevin, to make sure what you're doing following up fits the context and the mindset of the buyer based on where they are in the buying cycle. If you get those three things right, then this becomes one of the most cost-effective pipeline building tools we've ever had access to.
It sounds fun too, actually.
I think it's fun. I mean, I think it's fun because it's a real-time, real-life engagement with people, right? I mean, you send an email out, it goes from your marketing team, and you just wait for a response, and it's someone that wants a white paper, and then they don't respond to your follow-up, whatever. These are people that are responding to you. Now, that's scary for some organizations that are worried about having their sales team out there, directly interacting with prospects at this stage. But I think it's a combination of a training and a trust issue. And if you've got your reps to a point where you're comfortable with them making $80 a day and spending all day on the phone with prospects, there shouldn't be a problem with having them online and on Twitter and LinkedIn with your prospects as well.
Got it. And if I understood you correctly, with TwitHawk and NearStream, you can, if somebody mentions a certain set of keywords or whatever you're defining, automatic messages can go out to those people.
That's right. Now it's not set up completely in an automated fashion, and you wouldn't want that, right? So you can make it so that these same 4 responses that are different enough that they don't look exactly the same sort of get throttled out. You can also totally customize a response for a prospect depending on what their unique need is. Let me actually show you. Can I go back to the screen? Because
that'd be great. Yes.
Something happened literally a half hour before the show started that it was fortuitous. So let me go back over. This is if you look at the left-hand side of the screen here, you can see these are mentions of Heinz Marketing, right? So these are people mentioned.
It's not up yet, Matt. So
all right.
Hold on.
Waiting for technology
to catch up. There we go.
All right. So you see this column there's Heather fits at the top. Well, what's interesting about Heather is if you look 2 down, you can see reply to all. This is a friend of mine, a guy that's a sales and marketing guy locally, who just wrote and said, hey Heather, definitely check out Heinz Marketing. Knows cloud, tech, demand gen, etc. Right? That's interesting. Where did that come from? So I click on Heather and I say, well, who is Heather? So Heather shows up. Okay, Heather looks like she runs a PR company in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. So I'm like, I wonder what reply to all was responding to. So then I go down here, and it looks like what he probably was responding to was this: any recommendations for a marketing firm that knows cloud and can do demand gen and content.
Oh.
So I was at a lunch meeting at 12:02. I'm not following Heather. I've never met her before, but a friend of mine saw that and added me to her thing. And then look up here, Heinz Marketing. Thank you. We'll check them out. Appreciate that. So I could probably just sit here and keep talking to you, Kevin, and I may eventually get an email or some call from her saying I'd love to learn more, or I could, after we're done here, reply to Heather and say, hey, hey, reply to all, or hey, Robert's his name. Robert, thanks very much. Heather, would love to connect. Let me know if you want to chat offline. And in this case, because she's kind of reached out, because she's started the search, that's a pretty good prospect. I have no idea what she's in. I mean, she may be interested in something for herself that might be fairly small. Maybe she's doing PR for Oracle, right? And she needs someone to do lead gen for Oracle. That could be pretty decent for us. So you never know, but that's a great example of the kind of stuff you can have every day on the social web.
That's amazing. And you're coaching sales teams, Matt, to spend, did I hear you, 50% of their time potentially doing prospecting like this within social media?
Well, I think every sales team's a little different in terms of how they're thinking about this. We've got inside sales teams now that are spending a much larger percent of their time doing this as part of their prospecting. So if you think about traditionally, you've got a sales team that can either make cold calls, they're building their own pipeline, or they're following up on marketing generated leads. And every company has their combination of that, right? You can kind of add a third piece of that now, which is, okay, they're done, instead of doing cold calling, they're doing cold prospecting on the social web. And for the time they're not following up on marketing generated leads, we're seeing a sales team spend more and more of their time doing the social lead generation themselves versus doing cold calling. And then the next thing that's happening after that is we're seeing teams that have an inside sales team that are seeing good results off of this, look at the ROI of that work versus how much money they've been spending on traditional lead gen, and they're starting to rethink the right mix of inbound marketing leads versus having sales prospectors do this work. And I think then you start to add tools like the NearStreams of the world that take some of what today is largely a manual process, and it does some of the filtering, it does some of the editing, it makes it so that instead of spending an hour to get a handful of prospects, you can do it in 5 minutes because the technology did the work for you. I think that technology work, and this is why companies like NearStream can charge for this, and this is why people are going to pay for it all day long, is because you're basically replacing the cost of media. You're replacing the cost of lead generation with technology that does similar work for you at a fraction of the cost.
Right. That's amazing. And what other social media tools should we be aware of? I mean, assuming LinkedIn, right?
It totally depends on your audience, right? I mean, if you're going after sort of young women, Pinterest is a pretty good place to go right now, right? One of the best social channels if you're going for baby boomers in retirement age is Facebook. They're very comfortable on the channel, and they're up there because their kids and their grandkids are there. Like anything, you take another step back and say, listen, not all of your prospects are going to be online. We do work with some very sort of traditional, old school industries. We've got a client that does oil spill containment products. Not everyone's a Twitter power user in the oil spill containment industry.
Right.
But just because not everyone's there doesn't mean there aren't people there. And usually when we find low penetration social verticals like that, the opportunity from a conversion standpoint is higher. Because the people that are online in those categories are asking questions and no one's responding, right? In the very tech-savvy industries, you've got more and more people, especially in the marketing teams, that are watching the social web, that are doing this kind of work. And so there's more competition for the responses. It's not a bad way to get some of our clients on board doing this, because you show them, hey, look, here's a question that was asked, and an hour later, the CEO of your competitor actually replied with an answer, and now they're engaged with him. Like, great way to get people engaged if you're losing something to a competitor.
Right.
So long-winded way of saying, you got to understand your customer well enough and know what their patterns are and know what channels they're using. It doesn't matter what channel you're comfortable with. The only thing that matters is where your customer is.
Exactly. If they're on LinkedIn Answers, you be on LinkedIn Answers. If they're on Quora, you should be on Quora, right?
That's right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we're focused a lot on Twitter and Hootsuite here. For every one of our clients that's doing this, we develop a very specific process that the sales team, and in some cases the marketing team, goes through on a daily basis to use Hootsuite to find and engage prospects, but then go to LinkedIn Answers, go to Quora, go to Focus.com, go to the vertical categories and vertical channels that your customers are spending time on and engaging them there too. Oftentimes, if you're looking for prospects on the social web, maybe what you should be doing is going to the you can go to the blogs and go to the industry trade publications, look through the comments and look at who's making comments, right? You could reply back to someone in the comments as a way of engaging with someone. You want to find prospects in a list of people who are association members, find a thought leader in the industry, find an association Twitter feed, click on the button, click on where it says followers, and you will see a list of the people that are following the thought leader, people that are following the association Twitter feed. there's prospects in there, right? And so even if they haven't reached out to you, you can find people that you wouldn't otherwise have access to and use some of your value-added offers. Don't offer them a sales pitch or offer them a demo. Offer them a white paper. Offer them access to information to get them engaged. It's about building rapport and trust credibility at that stage.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, finally, Matt, somebody's shown me, don't tell me, shown me social selling and how you know, the user out there, the individual contributor who's watching our show can actually, you know, start today, right after the show. I mean, man, that's the goal. So I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much, Matt.
Yeah, appreciate the time. Thank you very much. And yeah, like you said, you know, tactics without strategy is kind of swimming in the dark. But I'll tell you what, tactics without. I think I got that wrong. That was a very George Bush moment. I think it was tactics without strategy is just is shooting in the dark. Strategy without tactics is a total waste of time, right? So, you know, I think, you know, you can spend a lot of time figuring this stuff out, but literally, you know, get off of this call, get off of this video, go try this out, right? You know, you're going to screw up and you're going to make mistakes the same way that I did and the same way a lot of other people do, but you get out there, you're going to find fish, you're going to find prospects.
All right. Excellent. Great. Well, thanks so much, Matt, for coming on the show. That's all we have this week. If you have any questions for me, feel free to email me at askkevin@thisweekin.com. Of course, you can tweet at us at SalesWeek. And of course, like our Facebook page, This Week in Sales. Of course, don't forget to download our iTunes podcast. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/show/This Week in Sales. Next week, we're going to have one of my favorites on the show, Tim Wackel. I've watched a bunch of his webinars over the years, and he's absolutely amazing and has so much energy. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Sales. Clear?
We are clear, and his mic is up.
Cool. Matt, great job.